guys. This is Alex, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I wanted to look at this Gustav Klimt book, as promised in my channel video. This is a smaller book, size-wise, than the ones we've been looking at. It's a little guy, but it's a lot of pages. I should probably say up front that I know he wasn't a great dude. Many famous artists weren't the best at being people, but I thought we could just look at some of his paintings and enjoy his artwork. I already love the jacket design of this book. And it's by Taschen. They're one of my favorite art book publishers. Their books are just very fine. The title is Gustav Klimt, Drawings and Paintings, edited by Tobias G. Nader, and directed and produced by Benedict Taschen. Right up top. Gustav Klimt, Controversy and Topicality. Then we have The Salon Painter, Early Works and Early Career. Sacred Spring and the Dawn of a New Era, the Vienna Secession. The Stocklet Frieze, an artificial garden in the heart of the house. Paintings of women, the landscapes, a reconstructed nature. The drawings, a cosmos unto themselves, and biography. But you can see the papers are kind of sheer, which is nice because Klimt uses so much metallic gold in his works. When a film about Gustav Klimt, with John Malkovich in the leading role, was released in 2006, and a painting by the artist changed hands for an alleged $135 million around the same time, Klimt's popularity soared to a new high. In contrast to predictions made back then, however, this interest has not since waned. Instead, it has become once again clear that the work of Gustav Klimt, thanks to its substance, is able to survive the dizzying heights of fame and boundless popularization apparently without difficulty. In 2012, too, a multitude of museum exhibitions marking the 150th anniversary of Klimt's birth testified to the relevance and topicality of this exceptional artist. Klimt has not always generated public awareness in this way, however, as a brief look back at the past reveals. Klimt was born in 1862 in Vienna, where he rapidly shot to stardom, but his 50th birthday in 1912 went by without a semi-centennial exhibition. 5 decades and 2 world wars later, the world had dramatically changed. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was now a thing of the past, and Klimt was perceived as the representative of a bygone era, and at best as a leading practitioner of a Viennese take on Art Nouveau. Viennese take on Art Nouveau. But that too was now passé, dismissed as an isolated development and marginalized with the argument that there were supposedly no paths leading from it to modernism. As the art scene in the years after the First World War celebrated the triumphal march of abstraction, there seemed to be no place for Klimt. In multiple respects, therefore, the exhibitions marking the centenary of Klimt's birth in 1962 provided opportunities for rediscovering Klimt and his work. Among the many efforts by public bodies and private individuals, in particular Austrians in exile, to establish Klimt's name beyond the bounds of Austria and to integrate him into the transcontinental discourse, great hopes were pinned on the exhibition mounted at the Guggenheim Museum in New York. The organizers still lacked the confidence to give Klimt a one-man show, and so he was presented jointly with Egon Schiele. Yeah, those two are commonly mentioned in the same sentence. But it was his first major museum exhibition in the United States, and one that indeed proved to be a milestone in the attempts to dissolve the geographical boundaries around Klimt's art. The Salon Painter, Early Works and Early Career. The spandrel pictures for the main staircase. Oh boy, no. I don't know any German and I don't know how to pronounce German words. Anyway, the main staircase already show the inherent force of his strengthening personality. It is here that Klimt's characteristic female type first appears, this enigmatic being, at once sensual and spiritual. Here already is the striving toward purely painterly effect, towards the harmony of the single paint mark, and towards the harmony of the colors as a whole. From Berta Zuckerkandi, 1908. At the School of Applied Arts. Gustav Klimt was 6 years old when his parents enrolled him at the local elementary school. The young Gustav Klimt displayed a pronounced talent for art even as a pupil, and suggested to his parents that they should send him to the Kunstgewerbeschule. I did look that up. The School of Applied Arts, newly opened in 1867. The fact that his father, Ernst, was an engraver undoubtedly helped foster Gustav's creative leanings. It is a sign of his parents' appreciation of natural talent that they paid for their sons to attend the School of Applied Arts rather than arranging for them to begin an apprenticeship right after elementary school. Wow. In October 1876, the 14-year-old Gustav passed the entrance examination to the School of Applied Arts, which involved copying an antique head with top marks. Sitting beside him during the same examination was Franz Matsch, who would become a close friend and colleague for many years. Soon thereafter, Gustav's younger brother, Ernst Klimt, also successfully sat the entrance examination to the School of Applied Arts and thus completed the artist trio in 1878. As a candidate for the teaching profession, Gustav Klimt had to draw plaster casts in the morning, attend lectures in the afternoon, and take life classes at night. Our information about Klimt's training at the School of Applied Arts comes to us not only from the institution's own files, but also from the curriculum vitae written by Gustav Klimt himself, and Franz Matsch's autobiographical sketches. Here is the World Exhibition in Vienna, Italian Perspectival Gallery. This is a group photo at the School of Applied Arts from 1882 or 1883. Ernst Klimt, Franz Match, Gustav Klimt. It's a view of the Ringstrasse. The Klimt brothers and Match, who had completed their training at the School of Applied Arts, were now themselves offered a travel scholarship to Italy by its director, Joseph von Storck. None of the artists accepted the scholarship, however, a decision probably linked with the precarious finances of their families. Like his predecessor, Julius Berger in turn funneled work toward the three artists and gave them permission to use the school studios for a further 2 years to be able to carry out their own commissions. That's pretty sweet. So this was like a mentor figure for the three. In 1881 to 1882, he employed them to execute his designs for the ceiling paintings in the staircase and salon of the Palais Zerhier. See, I'm going to try to pronounce everything with a French accent. I know that's not right. In the salon of the Palais Zerhier in Vienna. Of the compositional studies in watercolor that the artist had to submit to the villa's future occupant, the banker Wilhelm Zerhier, only those by Franz Match have survived. Gustav Klimt's final oil painting, Puto with mandolin and flowers, is a product of the studies of children he had made in Laufberger's class, although still rather clumsy in its proportions. Talking about some of the commissions that the trio accepted. Some more traditional sort of decorative works. First successes in the metropolis. Having carried out commissions in various parts of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the kunstler-compagnie now sought to gain a foothold in the capital. Their efforts to solicit new commissions are documented by a letter signed by all three artists, probably composed in February 1884, and today preserved in the Vienna Library, in which they addressed themselves directly to Rudolf von Eitelberger, director of the Austrian Museum of Art and Industry. If we, most honored counselor to the court, are to say what sort of work we really wish to do, may we allow ourselves once again to refer to our late master, Professor Laufberger, whose great achievements in sundry areas of the fine and the decorative arts serve as an incentive to us, and believe that our working together is of crucial advantage, because, due to increased productivity, more rapid fulfillment of the commission is effected, and the sum of our experiences is augmented. Wow, some SAT words in there. As Your Excellency will surely know, our work up till now has been largely destined for the provinces and abroad. Our most fervent wish is therefore to carry out a larger work in our native city, and perhaps now might be just such an opportunity, since Vienna's new monumental buildings are nearing completion, the painterly decoration of only the most important parts of which will, of course, have been assigned so that the best artists are fully occupied with them. That is why we make so bold as to address this most humble petition to Your Excellency, most graciously to use your benevolent and influential authority in that direction. With this humble petition, the young artists were hoping to win a lucrative, large-scale commission following the death of salon painter Macart in October 1884. Along with other painters working in a similar style to Macart, they were engaged to complete the decoration of the Villa Hermes in the Lens Game Park. The lavish villa complex with its covered riding arena was intended as a private retreat for Empress Elizabeth. A generous gift by Emperor Franz Joseph I to his restless wife. Under the supervision of their teacher, Julius Victor Berger, Matsch, and the two Klimt brothers executed the decorations for the spandrels of the imperial bedchamber, showing scenes from the Empress's favorite play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Oh, that's cool. And here we have female saint with cherubim. How cool is this? Because this almost looks photorealistic, this halo type design. And this face is almost photorealistic, and then this garment is sort of intentionally painted flat. This is from Peter Paul Rubens. It's the Festival of Venus. It's kind of a small reproduction for a pretty large painting with a lot happening. The trio won the favor of the temperamental Empress, however, with Spring, their 10-meter-long ceiling painting for her salon. Executed on the basis of their own designs, with its spacious skies and cool palette, it represents a clear antithesis to Macart. After suffering extensive water damage, Spring's original appearance was further lost behind an amateur restoration. Oh, that's sad. The architect of the Villa Hermes was Karl von Asenauer, whose attention was thus drawn to the talented trio. In 1885, while they were still working on their following designs for Carlsbad, Asenauer awarded the three young artists a highly prestigious commission that would signify their breakthrough. With the words, "Lads, I've got another job for you. You can win your spurs with this one," as Franz von Matsch recorded in his memoirs. Asenauer invited them to supply 10 ceiling paintings for the grand staircases in the new Hofburg Theater. With their experience in the sphere of theater decoration, they responded with paintings fully in keeping with the magnificent architectural setting, which had been designed jointly by Asenauer and Gottfried Semper. The foundation stone for the new Hofburg Theater had been laid in November 1874 on the site of the Baroque Paradisgarten Park, itself occupying the site of the former Lowell Baste Bastion. On the 20th of October, 1886, the Kunstler-compagnie were awarded an official contract from the Royal Building Committee for 10 ceiling paintings. The pictorial program, The History of Theatre from Antiquity up to the 18th Century, was dictated by Hofburg Theater's artistic director, Adolf von Wilbrandt, 1837 to 1911, who was also responsible for the iconographical content of the theater's interior decoration as a whole. That's cool. It's a cool motif. In 1915, the small format oil compositional studies relating to the final ceiling paintings were auctioned from the estate of banker Edouard Palmer, a close friend of the Burgtheater actress Katharina Schratt, herself the emperor's mistress. Most of these oil studies are today lost. The cartoons for the ceiling paintings were discovered in 1996 in an attic room at the Burgtheater. Cartoons here meaning early sketches, I think. They were used by the artists as the template by which to transfer the composition directly onto the sized plaster ceiling, where the actual painting was then carried out in resin oil. In some pictures, the preparatory coat of size was mixed with fine sand, marble dust. This procedure was evidently omitted in the case of the tympana and the large compositions because its application was not uniformly successful. I wonder why they did that. To create a texture, maybe. So it looks like out of the three of them, Gustav Klimt produced 4 ceiling paintings. The Card of Thespis, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, and in the tympanum, the altar of Dionysus. And here's a painting produced by the trio, Allegory of Mary and Solemn Art. His fourth painting, The Theatre in Taormina, occupies a central position over the northern grand staircase on the opposite side of the building. Strobel considers that Gustav Klimt painted Shakespeare's Globe Theatre first. Juliet lies dead, her face as pale as marble, her figure a bright gleam emerging from the shadowy depths of the stage. Romeo is draped lifelessly over the side of her bed, and the body of Lord Paris forms a dark patch of color in the left-hand foreground. Behind the tragic couple, Father Lorenzo recoils in horror from the scene. Sitting and standing in crowded, colorful fashion around the stage are the theatergoers of the Elizabethan era, staring transfixed at the scene. So here are some of the murals that Klimt painted as a part of the trio at the Hofburg Theater. Here's the Cardiff Thespis. Here's Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. I believe that's meant to be Juliet. Romeo here, Paris. And then Father Lorenzo. Okay, Father Lorenzo here. And the spectators here. It's so elaborate with this framing and adornment. Okay, and here's a view of the main staircase. Oh no, that's from the museum. Never mind. Ignore me. Here's the theater in Taormina. That's stunning. The principles now being employed by Gustav Klimt are even more apparent in his two other ceiling paintings for the Burgtheater. The theater in Taormina, destined for the northern staircase, shows dance and music in Roman times, but relegates the eponymous theater far into the background. This private entertainment from the decadent era of the classical world has nothing to do with the theater as such, remarked Joseph Bayer, author of the first monograph on the monumental new building, in a critical tone. After the successful completion of this major project, the artist trio were now ready for another prominent commission. Vienna's two new imperial court museums of natural history and art history had been under construction since 1872, and by 1881 the main shells were completed. Gottfried Semper was responsible for the design of the exterior architecture, while the interiors were to be built by Karl von Hassenauer. In 1882, Hans Makart was commissioned to carry out the entire decoration of the ceiling and walls of the grand staircase in the Kunsthistorische Museum. After the death of the Prince of Painters in 1884, however, the decorative scheme remained only half finished. In February 1890, the kunstler-compagnie received the prestigious invitation to carry it to completion. It was the last commission the three artists undertook as a team. According to the terms of the contract, these wall zones had to illustrate the leitmotif of the development of the different styles, using objects housed in the museum's own collections, and had to be executed in such a way that they matched their intended purpose, the more exacting demands of art and their titles. The contract also stipulated that the works by the three artists had to be tailored both in their proportions and in their palette to the lunettes by Makart, and to the central ceiling painting, and had to take into account the color and material of the flanking marble columns. A fee of 14,000 gulden was agreed for the 40 spandrel pictures, which were to be executed in oil on canvas and delivered at the latest by the end of July 1890. The program for the spandrels and intercolumnar pictures was conceived by Albert Ilg, curator of the collection of applied arts, Jung did not thereby ask the artists to aim for archaeological unimpeachability and correctness as their highest ideal, in line with contemporary taste, but to emphasize individual details, distinctive characteristics in a free, artistic manner. Here's the interior of the old Burgtheater in 1888. It's a really nice painting. So it sounds like at this point the relationship, or at least the professional creative relationship between the three, started to break down a little bit. The decoration of the intercolumnar zones makes reference to neighboring spandrels. The three artists each took responsibility for one whole wall and divided up the fourth wall amongst themselves. Gustav Klimt executed 13 paintings in total. In Strobel's view, their subjects, the art of ancient Egypt, Greek antiquity, and the Italian Quattrocento and Cinquecento, would prove decisive for Klimt's later oeuvre. Some of the figures resemble a paraphrases of existing historical artistic realities. In their work for the museum, clear differences start to become visible amongst the three colleagues and their artistic approaches. Gustav Klimt carries the two-dimensional style that he had employed in the Hofburg Theater even further, insofar as he places bright accents in front of large monochrome surfaces, a tactic plainly visible in early Italian art, for example, where the naturalistically drawn heads stand out against the ornamental carpet of robes. Klimt has here manifestly borrowed from Italian portraiture of the 15th century. The format in itself unfavorable suited the artist's tendency toward asymmetry and the isolation of individual details. Okay, so this is the one that they're referencing there. The naturalistically drawn head stands out against the ornamental carpet of robes. Yeah. Okay, so this is Greek antiquity here, this woman. Amazing. And it goes on to discuss how some of Klimt's most well-known style choices are apparent in these early pieces. So this is Greek antiquity, Girl from Tanagra and Athena. For Klimt himself, his paintings for the museum carried him a major step closer to symbolism, something reflected in the fact that an article by Ricarda Hutch on the symbolist painting of Romanticism around 1800, published in the Secession journal Versicrum, was illustrated by a selection of Klimt's works. These paintings do make you want to stop and look at them, don't they? This author, Hans Hofstadter, notes that in his pieces, Klimt infused the faces of women with the emotion of the fin de siècle mood, and thus made them symbols of a sought-after, longed-for past. This part of the book references music. That's on page 64. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, so this is music. A study for music. In 1895. Klimt takes up a traditional motif firmly anchored in art, namely a young woman playing the lyre, but renders her as ornamentalized surface decoration in a manner that documents his interest in antiquity. She is accompanied by a sphinx, a symbol of the enigma of women, and a motif that is also employed by Knopf, in whose case it is described as an angel meeting with animalism. The fundamental shift taking place in Klimt's style can also be discerned in two other paintings that he produced that same year, and with which he made his first public appearance since completing the spandrel pictures for the museum. His role portrait of senior Burgtheater actor Joseph Lewinsky. This one here. also mentions his paintings of some allegories. The two paintings exhibit formal similarities. Both employ a tall portrait format and present their central motifs bordered on either side by wide pictorial fields in a contrasting color. Klimt thereby left behind the last vestiges of 1870s salon painting and turned toward the atmospheric painting of symbolism. Here's some more of the paintings produced for the museum: Greek antiquity and Egyptian art. And this is the allegory painting. Schubert at the piano. Wow. That's a neat one. Here's the music study. There's a photo of Klimt. Okay, so he's on the right. This must be him here. Okay guys, so I think that might be it for this video. It ended up being quite a bit longer than I anticipated, so I thought I would split it up into 2 parts. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.